tell you what, Parker. One of the things I love about baseball is that there is always something going on as like an A story and a B story. And the A
Hmm.
story is all the nonsense that we're experiencing in the division series right now. However, the B story is something I always like to talk about every year, and that's this manager carousel that is just constantly churning, right?
Yeah.
So we have these managers in the dugouts, teams making changes, wanting to get better. Maybe they're pinning it on a manager when they don't need to pin it on a manager. And I want to talk about some of these manager openings that we have because these are the most manager openings we've had going into an offseason in quite a while.
Hmm.
And I want to get into them. But before we do, I struggle with this every year. When you consider how much managers really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like if you could assign like a war number to a manager like you do to a player, it may very well be negligible. I mean, how do you view where managers' impact is the most important?
I think that it's the law of almost like the opposite of the law of depreciating return. I think that the top 3 to 5 managers in the game have a direct impact on the winnability of a game on any given night. And I'm thinking about guys like Dave Roberts. I'm thinking about guys like Greg Counsell. I'm thinking about guys like Alex Cora. I think those guys have a direct effect on the winnability of any given game, especially when you come to postseason baseball. I truly believe
Yeah.
that. I think after that, the most effective communicator is more than capable of also following a printout from the front office telling you how to manage the game. So when you talk about guys who are good at harboring a fundamental based culture, like we play defense well, we do this well, we run the bases well, I hire good coaches, my coaches communicate well with me, I communicate well with the players, and vice versa. I think that is kind of all you really the only separator between a bad manager and a good manager after a certain point. So I don't know. It's interesting that Bruce Bochy's out as the Rangers manager because I do put him in that category of like a guy who directly affects the outcome of the game. But he would
Yeah.
be kind of a
Yeah.
bubble guy for me. Uh,
I mean,
I,
I get what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. I think as we track this over the next couple weeks, one thing to remember is um the postseason's kind of weird because you have these
mm,
teams that are going to be doing interviews, but oftentimes they want to talk to coaches that are on these teams in the playoffs, so they
right.
have to wait either between kind of that break between the CS and the World Series or after. But Parker, of the now 7 teams that have openings, you mentioned the Rangers. They have hired Skip Schumacher. That was not a surprise. He was in the
No,
wings for this opportunity. But the 7 others: Braves, Giants, Twins, Angels, Orioles, Rockies, and Nationals. When you look at these roles, and again, I don't want to spend too much time in this because we'll have a lot of weeks to talk about this, but I just want your view of, if you are a manager looking for a role right now, which one of these roles is the most appealing to candidates?
mm, I think that the 2 teams that really stick out to me as intriguing, moving into the future, the Orioles are one of them because I think that if you can find a way to get out of that clubhouse the production that we have kind of been waiting to see out of that clubhouse over the last few years. I think that if you can find the way to do it, you could be the hero of Baltimore and you could really bring them into a deep playoff run. The ALCS is in the cards next season if somebody can just figure out how to get that clubhouse to work together and play really good baseball. And the other one is the Braves because we know that the Braves still foster a core of players that are capable of winning a World Series as long as you get everything out of them that is supposed to get out of them. Personally, I think that the Snitker firing is actually just them picking Acuña over the manager, which is kind of like it was kind of written on the wall. We know that Brian Snitker and Acuña kind of had their disagreements over the last season or two. And Acuña makes way more money and is signed for way more years than Brian Snitker. So I think
I
that
really hope that's not the case. You're I don't
I
I don't think you're
I
wrong, but I
think that
really hope
it's
that's not the case.
I really think it is the case because It sucks because
That
Brian
shit
Snitker, I think,
pisses me off.
100%. And it wasn't necessarily Brian Snitker's fault. He's managing a clubhouse. There's nuance that needs to be applied to situations. So when Jared Kelenic doesn't hustle out a double, we talked about this on this show. When Jared Kelenic doesn't hustle and gets thrown out at second, you don't necessarily need to crack down on a guy who hasn't made any big league money really and is fighting for a roster spot. That guy knows that what he just did just screwed himself out of a roster spot. He has no disillusionment on that actual situation. If Ronald Acuña Jr. doesn't bust that out of the box, he's getting paid to bust it out of the box. And that's when you get on your star player. So that whole situation that boiled over with Brian Snitker and Ronald Acuña while Ronald Acuña is sitting on his couch and not actually playing baseball, that stinks. But I do think, to me, that seems like the most apparent reason why Brian Snitker would have been fired.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think you are right. I think the Braves and the Orioles roles are certainly appealing. I'm going to add the Giants to that list.
I almost put the Giants.
And I think you and I are on the same wavelength here. Buster Posey is super impressive as a president of baseball ops. I really like kind of his philosophy and what he's doing with that team. And this is a guy that, with the support of that ownership, who really is just so badly wants to get back to winning. I think they're going to continue to reinforce that team, and it is going to be fun for any manager to step into that role and get the support that they undoubtedly are going to have.
Yeah, especially think about a team that has a lineup that includes Rafael Devers, Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, Heliot Ramos, the grandson of the Win, Jung-Hoo Lee, and a rotation that already has a Robbie Ray and a Logan Webb. You have 2/3, I would say, of all the pieces. Honestly, the lineup is completely fine. You could probably just plug and play a bunch of people around those core pieces of the lineup, and you're kind of cooking with oil there. The rotation needs one more guy and then shore up a bullpen. All of a sudden, you're a playoff team. They were a couple games away from being a playoff team this season. So that job, to me, might be the easiest job to jump into and then feel like a success at the end of one season. The Orioles, to me, you need to come close to winning a division to really feel like you proved something with that roster, because that roster's expectations are already sky high. The Braves, realistically, the expectation for the Braves is a World Series appearance. They feel like the Yankees, where it's if you're not making it to the World Series, what are we even doing with that roster? So the Giants might be the most appealing job for candidates based on the fact that if you go into that clubhouse, get in front of those players, make it to the playoffs, maybe have a winning record against the Padres and go 500 against the Dodgers, all of a sudden you're the patron saint of San Francisco. You were the king of San Francisco at that point. You're eating for free at all the restaurants.
Parker, when you look at these playoff teams, I'm kind of going through them in my brain, and I wonder if any of these managers, if they don't make it through this postseason, if any of them are on the hot seat. And as I go through this, Dave Roberts, no, Schneider, the Blue Jays, probably not. Aaron Boone, no.
I think Schneider with the Blue Jays, actually, funny enough, made his job even more solidified this year, because with the expectations for the Blue Jays were in the toilet.
Yes.
He might be manager of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Pat Murphy, definitely not. I don't know. The Mariners, you got to remember, right? They made that change in the middle of this season when Scott Service was pushed aside for the bench coach. That I'm now blinking on his name because he has the most basic name in the world. What's his name? Zach Wilson or some crap?
I think.
I think I'm pretty close on that one, actually.
I think you're right.
Hold on. I want to type it up. Ready? This is a great audio experience. I love when my computer's not letting me type. That's freaking great.
Perfect.
All right. Are you kidding me right now?
Let's see. Score update. Score update. End of 8. Toronto 5. New York 1. Top 9. Top 9. Toronto 5. New York 1. Phillies are winning 3-1 on the Dodgers right now.
Kyle Schwarber 3-run homer. How about that? So, okay, what is actually occurring? Hold on. I'm going to.
I just lost.
Back in my USB. What the hell is happening?
You're now being recorded through your headphones, I think.
I swear, man, this is nonsense. This is actual nonsense.
Okay, where are we at? The Kyle Schwarber home run puts the Phillies up 3-1.
You keep talking, and I'm gonna actually bounce out and come back in. Great.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, no. So we got the Phillies up on the Dodgers 3-1. That's actually massive considering how big a game this is. I mean, obviously the Phillies are trying to stave off elimination. Kike Hernandez is at the plate, so keep an eye on that game. And then also on top of that, yeah, I think the Blue Jays are about to move on to the ALCS here.
The Blue Jays are definitely going to do it here, which is no surprise to us. Dan Wilson, I told you, is like a total like Joe Schmo
Dan
name.
Wilson, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Like the only more common name would be like Ryan Jones. Like, what are we doing
Right.
here?
Yeah. John Smith.
Yeah, John Smith. So manager Dan Wilson, John Smith of the Mariners. I mean, he's a guy that right? He was not their first pick. But I don't know. Rob Thompson is an interesting case in Philly. That one may be up in the air.
I think Rob Thompson's out after this season. We saw Rob Thompson. No, I'm. You know what sucks is I'm really good at following coaches in the NFL. I can't. Like, it's so hard for me to follow managers in MLB. He's still the same manager that was the interim guy when Girardi was fired. That they ended up turning the season around, having an incredible run. He's still there,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to stick around after this season. You really had to win this year. And not to say they won't. They're currently beating the Dodgers in this game, but I don't know.
I mean, that's sports, man. It's a what have you done for me lately? That's what it is. And that's how it is with these managers. What I tend to struggle with is this assessment every year of how much of it really lies on the manager. I think unfortunately, managers, you can certainly loop hitting coaches in there. They are
They're scapegoats.
The scapegoats, right? They just take the blame. And so
Yeah.
it is what it is. That's sports and certainly baseball. But if you were a GM right now, Parker, and like I said, we're going to be tracking this over the next couple of weeks. The interviews are kind of just starting. We've had some interesting interview reports already. If you're a GM right now, which manager candidate are you making a call to? And you're like, I need this guy. This guy's very interesting.
Okay, so I have a couple teams that I think match up with candidates pretty evenly. I like the idea of Bob Guerin. Not Bob Guerin, Bob Melvin going to the Orioles. Because Bob Melvin found a lot of success with those young, inexperienced A's teams back in the day and was able to create some really winning teams with some really inexperienced young players. And I think that would lend him a lot of success in Baltimore with all of those young guys, young talent. So I'd love to see Bo Mel in Baltimore. And then I think Brian Snitker would do pretty well as the manager of the Giants. I know that the ideal I know the ideal guy is Bochy. I know everybody's like, "Ooh, Bochy left the Rangers." I don't know if Bochy's done, but I also would love to see him back in San Francisco. But I think Brian Snitker going to the Giants would be really good. Proven winner, a guy who can really hold players accountable, and like frankly, like we saw what happened with Rafael Devers over the last season, and that's just my thought. I think that Brian Snitker kind of runs a tight ship, and that's going to be the expectation in San Francisco. And they're so close that maybe that's what they need.
Yeah, that's interesting. Buster Posey did come out, I believe it was late last week, and did say that the Bochy thing is not likely to happen, which is interesting. Okay. So the conversations have already happened, but they've hired people, or they've interviewed folks like Nick Hundley, Kurt Suzuki. We all know catchers make the best managers. I mean,
dude, Kurt Suzuki would be so fun.
super fun, super fun.
Yeah.
I look at some of the candidates out there, and there's a couple guys that um are are off the wall a bit, but I think would be great. And let me
Uh-huh.
just preface this. I'll preface this by saying I think there is a trend in baseball that we're starting to see, and I think it's the right trend. Is that now more than ever, it is not guys from the front office. It's not guys that have played years in the minors that are getting these jobs. There are past Major League Baseball players. And I
Yeah.
think we're going to continue to see that. I think it's the right move. And I look at guys like the fact that the Angels are interviewing Albert Pujols. I freaking love that. Give
Yeah.
that man the job. Oh,
Yeah.
man. That would be awesome. If not for him to succeed there, to manage a major league team and find himself managing the Cardinals in 2 years. Sign me
Yeah.
up. That
Yeah.
number one.
At the end of the day, the Cardinals decided to stick with Ollie Marmol. And I think I said this in a past episode, but if Ollie Marmol has a managerial job and Ron Washington doesn't at the end of this offseason, I'm going to be completely out of my mind.
Yeah, if
I
not
don't
for
know.
his health, right? I mean, sure, yeah.
I know. Yeah, dude,
Um,
I love Wash so much. I
Me
really,
too.
really, really want to see him back on the top step of a dugout. Now, hear me out. Where was Ron Washington before he was the manager of the Angels?
He was with the Braves.
He was the infield coach of the Braves.
Yeah,
How cool would
yeah.
that be?
That would be cool. But here's one I have for the Braves. All right. I love this guy. I
Okay.
love watching him every morning. His breakdowns are incredible on MLB Network. And he also has experience managing Team USA. Give me
D-Row?
Mark DeRosa all
Yeah,
day
man.
long.
I love D-Row, man. And he's
I think
so
he would
good at the
kill it.
national team. He's so
Yes,
good with Team USA.
he is just so in tune with the sport, the players, what it means to grind every day in this league. I mean, he would be a rock star manager. I just
Do
know it.
you know why I don't think he will get a job this offseason, though?
Tell me.
Because he's currently the manager of Team USA, and they have a tournament coming
Yeah,
up in February.
that's true. However, if you really wanted to make it happen, you can make. You know how many coaches are on that Team USA that can be managers? Literally all of them. They
Pettit,
could take his
Griffey.
spot, no problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
I want that. And then one last bonus one I want to see was I could be completely off base here. Clint Hurdle was not the interim manager for the Rockies after the firing of Bud Black, right? He was just kind of on the coaching staff.
I think he was just on the coaching staff,
I would
correct?
love to see Clint Hurdle go back to managing the Rockies.
You know what's so funny about that? I don't hate that, and I don't hate that probably has less to do with Clint Hurdle, and it has more to do with like, don't put anyone in that job until you're ready to compete. Like, can we like,
But
don't
also,
put
like,
anyone through that,
you made a
please.
great point. I don't know if it was this season or last season, but the Rockies like to envision themselves as like this mom and pop version of an MLB club. And
Yeah,
like once you're a Rocky, you're always a Rocky. Clint Hurdle got that team to a World Series in 2007.
fair, totally. Yeah,
So, and then he went and he learned and he got better and he got older and more experienced. And I just think that maybe, he was a clubhouse guy, a communicator, a fireball kind of guy when he was with them the first time. And he's always been that kind of a manager. Maybe that's kind of the
yeah,
kick in the ass that team needs because there's talent on that roster. Maybe they just need someone to steer the ship. I mean, you need way more talent to make that team more competitive, but like I don't
sure.
know. It's a good story.
Well, I like that you said someone who's gonna steer the ship there, and I makes me think of two guys that lost their job this past offseason, which accounts for the two of these openings that I think still deserve manager positions, and that is Davey Martinez and Brandon Hyde. I think those two still have a
Yeah.
lot to offer.
Yeah, I do too. I think Brennan Hyde just kind of ran out of time in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And I think Davey's a proven quantity. I actually think that Davey Martinez might be the perfect Angels manager. And I know we already talked
Mm.
about Albert Pujols, but for me, I just see Davey Martinez in that Anaheim clubhouse, and I don't know. I like the idea of David Martinez being in Anaheim.
Last one because I just like having fun with this. Give me for Twins manager Tory Hunter all day.
Tory, is he interviewing or anything? Or are you just coming up with
He
something?
is he no, he has been floating out there as a possibility, also interviewed or is interviewing potentially for the Angels job, and he's been a special assistant in front offices.
Dude, if
So,
there's two teams I would love to see him manage, it's like the Angels and the Twins. Those are two of
of
them.
course, of
Yeah,
course, those
that would
are
be super
that's
sick.
man, I just love Tory Hunter too.
I have
So
a soft spot in
fun,
my heart for the Angels, for reasons we
man.
will get into in a second. Um, but the Angels being the most local team to me here in Southern California, I do have a bit of a soft spot in my heart for them.
Oh, the hat gave it away.
Yeah.
But one quick Tory Hunter story, and you may already know this story, but I'm going to share it. So, Tory Hunter is notorious for having the neatest signature, the neatest autograph in
Mm,
baseball.
hmm.
And the story behind this is something that Tory does on purpose because Tory Hunter has always said that if I'm signing someone's baseball or signing anything, you should be able to see whose name it is and not have it just be a bunch of scribbles. And he was very particular about if I'm going to autograph something, I want people to look at it and say that's Tory Hunter. And so he's
Hmm.
notorious for having one of the better autographs in baseball. And you can actually read the damn thing, which I always appreciated.
That's super cool because now that I think about it, I had Tory Hunter cards that were not like auto cards when I was a kid. They were not like autographed, but they did have like the printed, like a printed version of his signature on the card. And I always
Yeah.
remember as a kid, even I could read that signature.
Yeah, exactly. I just love that. That's like it speaks to just how thoughtful he is and how really just cool dude he is.
All time baseball guy, like Hall of Very
Oh
Good,
yeah,
I think applies to Tory Hunter. Um, and I love the idea of a Hall of Very Good, and we've talked about maybe inducting people into
yeah,
our own Hall of Very Good
yeah.
on the show. But I think Tory Hunter is one of those guys that like, yeah, he's going to be one of the people I remember from my childhood of like, yeah, man, Tory Hunter was so fun to watch with the Twins, with the Tigers. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Well, we'll be tracking that over the next couple weeks. We'll have more to say, and it'll be very interesting which managers land where. 7 openings. It's going to be big, and it's going to change almost a third of the league, which is crazy. So we'll see how
Yeah.
that falls.